Alright guys, so welcome back to another episode, and today's episode is one I think a lot of you all might have been waiting for, because we finally have gotten around to our Xenoblade Chronicles 2 discussion review. So this is kind of like Famitsu style, where our three editorial, on our big editorial board, our three editors are going to come together and we're going to each, give our opinion on a game we played. And it's been out for, like 3-4 months now, so it's kind of overdue. But Harrison's actually working on that, the real review, so count on this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, we've been playing, Nick and I especially have been playing the Xeno series for a long time. Like, we were lucky enough to play Xenogears when it came out back in '98 from Squaresoft. And Harrison has entered the franchise through an interesting era, which is pretty much the modern Monolith Soft, which is Xenoblade Chronicles X was your first one, right?
Yeah.
So you've only played two of them.
I only played two.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been the newer ones.
Yeah, so...
I didn't play Xenoblade Chronicles, so
yeah,
I was a little concerned when I went into this game that I needed to have played that, like other games, if it was a sequel, but that it didn't seem to have any kind of bearing on the story for this one at all. So that was really cool. So if you've never played any of the games, you can go right into this game and you don't need to have any backstory.
Yeah. There were little Easter eggs for the first one here and there, but nothing really matters with regards to the original plot or the first one's plot. So, but overall, I think we have kind of a mixed reception, I gotta say, because I love the Xeno series, and I do have high expectations for it, and I do want it to meet that bar. I root for, Monolith Soft all the time, and, a little context of the project, when it began, it was really, Monolith Soft was heavy involved in Breath of the Wild's development, because Nintendo really liked the open world and Xenoblade Chronicles X, so they brought a lot of that staff over to work on Breath of the Wild. And meanwhile, Monolith Soft at home used about 40 to 50 staff members to develop Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So I don't know if that's a criticism of how polished it is or how it comes together, but it could add some context for why I think there are a lot of ends that don't tie together. But first of all, I do want to say that I got into it off the bat, and I do think that Xenoblade Chronicles X was pretty stinky for me. Going into it, about a few hours into it, and it was the first Xeno game I had not completed, and I
just remember you being very excited about it, and you were like, you gotta get this game, it's gonna be awesome. And then we started playing at the same time, and I remember I kept playing, and at one point I was like, so where are you? And you're like, I've been playing. And I'm like, okay, well tell me when you get, here or whatever. Yeah. And then as time kept going on, I just kept playing, and you just fell off. And it was a lot of playing. It was 100 hours at least for me in that game. And I wasn't used to playing a game that long. And also a game that is that long that doesn't have as much of a story as other RPGs that I've played.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X is very heavy in the gameplay department, and 2 definitely went more in the narrative direction, and in a lot of sense, I feel like the narrative was polished and was well done. Some of the cutscenes I think were awesome, and almost could compete with Square and Naughty Dog, who are really exceptional at cutscenes. So, but there was something about it for me that just felt unrefined, because you would have these great cutscenes, and then you would have these slogs of dialogue, and and I also feel that it's a certain taste for those character designs. I like them more than most people, but the internet really got upset at some of these character designs. There was really mixed reception, I think, on the fan service, as we call it, with our lead female characters, and and it does have some anime tropes in there. But yeah, I guess I should just come out and say it. I did not finish it because it really dropped off for me. I got to chapter 7, and I felt it just like the narrative lost me in a sense, because I do think that this game makes one of my least favorite decisions about gameplay mechanics, which is it wastes your time wandering around in a vast open space. Because some of the map markers are so, I don't know, they don't give you a good sense of direction, and you really spend a long time looking for these locations, and sometimes I just never found them, and I was like, what do I do now?
There was one case in particular that I remember where I could see where I needed to go, and I kept trying to get through this area, and I was not leveled up nearly enough to get through it. And then after playing through it for probably an hour, I hopped off a different ledge onto something, and I got to where I needed to be, and I was like, are you kidding me? I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out one little section. And I personally, I know that you all were talking about it earlier before we were recording, but I didn't get too lost in the game for the most part. I think with Chronicles X, I kind of learned that map system, and I didn't find it as difficult maybe as you all did. But it's but I get what you're saying, because I don't think it is so massive of a world that there are so many ways that you can try to get to a place, and it's not as clear as other games make it to be. So I don't know. It's
very scaled up. Those maps are so vertical. And you have to climb up crazy cliff sides and stuff like that. And some of the little hidden entrances were hard to find. And I feel like in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, if they did have open spaces, but I feel like that they weren't as they did a good sense of making you feel the scale, but they would still have a clear sense of where you're supposed to go. And I know I'm the only one who can speak for that because I played that game. But this one also, with regards to the open world gameplay, I did not like how there would be these moments where you would reach, an end of a level, you're thinking that you're getting towards the end of the chapter, and all of a sudden you hit pretty much a wall where you have to have certain blades, have certain skills, and then sometimes the blades don't have the skills, and you got to go either level up the blades, or sometimes the blades don't even have them to begin with, so you got to go find that blade, then you got to come back, and then you got to level up that blade and the other blade, and then 3 hours later you can get through that wall. And this kind of goes back to some of my criticism with Final Fantasy 15, is that the open world, you lose it on the plot, and I think what makes those games special is the story. And I guess that's why I fell off. I thought that we're getting a little. Do y'all want to comment about the open world? Before we get into the battle system, I
think it's all valid. When you have a mechanic like that where you get to an area and you need some skill that only a certain character can develop, and you don't even have that character, so you have to play with the random number generator in the game to try to hope to get the right thing.
Those core crystal animations.
It grinds the plot to a screeching halt, and it evaporates any urgency that the narrative has. So that's
and I feel they tried to take what worked with X. It still had a lot of those gameplay elements.
Yeah, it just was.
But
some of it was toned down, and I liked that because so much stuff with the mechs and everything in X was just I didn't know what I was doing at one point, and it I was burnt out on the game, but I'd already put so many hours in. I was like, I have to finish this. I can't not finish this now that I've spent 80 hours of my life. So but I didn't feel, and I know that you were talking about the story, but it's also going from X, having only played that game prior, this was a treasure trove of story, and I never felt like it really dipped off, especially the way that it did in Chronicles X. Now, it probably did, but you didn't play it. X, that is.
Yeah, so, I played a little bit of it, but it just that immediately dropped me off, because I feel that the story presence in that was,
because I know that when you
I was what? Who made this game? Because it's not the guy who made Xenogears.
You gotta play this because the stories are always so great in these games, and that's what was kind of jarring about Chronicles X, in my opinion, is that I didn't find there to be much of a story at all. And this game, I think that there is a story, and I enjoyed it. And I also know, you were talking about characters and things, and not just like us here, but we've talked to other people that have played the game and other people that had stopped playing the game. It was because of specific characters like the no-pawns, and like I like fluffy, cute creatures and everything.
Yeah,
and
that was a division for a lot of people.
I also found them to be more annoying in Chronicles X, and I like them more in this one. I thought that the humor with them was hilarious, and I found myself laughing, whereas when I talked to other friends, they were like, that was disgusting, and that was so stupid.
The no-pawns were very divisive.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like Return of the Jedi. A lot of people hate the Ewoks.
Everyone loves Jar Jar Binks, though. Yeah.
I don't know, I enjoyed the characters, and I thought that, like, after playing the last one, I just enjoyed the story a lot more. But I know it's not for everybody, and I know that there were times too where I got kind of like, okay, come on.
What did you like about the story though? Because I feel like you were positive about it, and I remember you called me and you were like, I really like the ending, and that it like built up to a big moment and stuff like that.
In a sense, it reminded me of playing like a Final Fantasy game where you go from such a fluff, like in certain Final Fantasy games where you go from like happy-go-lucky to the end is just like you're in some crazy world, because like the end of it turns into this cybernetic like type world that you're not expecting, and like the final boss is just insane, so and like crazy. Then it kind of reminds you of when you play other like Final Fantasy games, like not expecting when you first start the game, the final boss is not what you're expecting unless you've played a lot of the game.
Full art.
The conflict at the beginning of the game is sort of more microcosmic. And at the end of the game, you're basically fighting God or a god or something. A cosmic, battle.
What I did like about the game, I thought the world was beautiful. Like I thought that like the environments were fantastic. And from an aesthetic
visually, it was very impressive.
Yeah.
That was one thing I wanted to just like briefly mention, is that I know that some people like online had talked about how the game looked so poor in handheld mode on the Switch, and I completely disagree.
It wasn't bad at all.
Because there were times when I would be playing it handheld, watching like a movie with my girlfriend, and be like, look at this. And she would be like, wow, that's insane, because there was so much depth to the world and things like that, and I thought they did an amazing job, and I think it looked incredibly great for a handheld.
I think it really depends on like what you're looking at it and what you sort of think of when you think of visually impressive. Like it's not like Skyrim where you're looking at the individual blades of grass. You're like, oh, those are so realistic, so detailed. No, this was impressive in a different way. Like the depth of field, the field of vision, the contrast of the colors. It was all very visually impressive.
I like the concept of being on these giant titans and like this vast like dead ocean. And you have this tree in the middle that like is this huge mystery of the universe. Like I really like that setup.
For some reason that stuck in my craw a little bit. Like it made the world feel a little bit segmented and disjointed, and it sort of made the game feel a little bit
hubby.
That's a great way to put it. A little hubby.
But the thing is, like, some of them, I know you only got to like chapter 3.
Yeah, so full disclosure. Again, I feel like I have to preface everything I'm saying with this, disclosure that I didn't beat the game either. I dropped off right by the time I got to chapter 4.
I made it further.
He got like a third of the way, 2/3, and then I we have some great tearing here.
So 2/3, 1/3, we kind of beat the game.
So we beat it twice as a group. We beat it twice as a group.
Right.
All right. So
So having said that, I really did want to like the game. I played for probably about 15 or 20 hours of it, and like you said at the beginning of the video, I was introduced to the Xeno franchise with Gears. I played the Saga games. I really like those. For some reason, I didn't make it into Xenoblade Chronicles.
Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is highly regarded.
I'd like to go back and play it.
It
is universally loved. I think you mentioned Famitsu earlier. He got like a perfect 40 out of 40.
It was special at the time for sure, and I feel like that we have seen the evolution of that gameplay come through the Chronicles series. So
are we ready to talk about the battle system?
Well, let's finish up with a few other plot things. Like I feel like that what I did like about the characters was Torna, like the villains. I really liked them, and like I thought that they were an interesting group.
I like your introduction to them. I like that like you're working with them, but then you find out that like pretty much everybody that you're working with in the beginning is bad.
And they're ultra bad.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. It kind of like the game kind of just throws you into something, and you're like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, you're bad.
So so I mean, like positives, I guess we can agree with as a group is like the aesthetics, like art direction for the most part.
For the world, I would say.
Yeah, for
character design
mixed.
is mixed, but overall the world is very visually.
And the other thing too about the story is that I feel like it was a little too tropey, in a sense that like it really just, it was kind of just like familiar territory for that kind of anime aesthetic, and I don't know, and like I liked some of the humor, some I didn't. Harrison seemed to really enjoy it. Nick threw the game across the room. That's right. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, I guess we can all agree on that. So let's move on to the battle system. I'll let Harrison.
See, because I really like the battle system because okay. There were times where I got frustrated with it, but then when I finally did like completely understand the battle system, which again they keep adding things later on in the game, and it's kind of crazy that they keep adding things, but it does make sense. But it's got
depth to it when it unlocks 50 hours in.
When you're able to like understand it and play it, you can take a huge like boss and get it almost like halfway down on its health, and then in one move set essentially just knock it all the way out. But you have to be doing everything. It's like insane chains that kind of link together, and you have to like know like what you're doing because there's all these elemental abilities, then attacks and things like that, and it is complicated. But I think that if you actually if you spend the time and like you learn it, it becomes more fun. But it's also I keep harping on it, but it's like Chronicles X. It was just like I didn't know what I was doing, and then I got better with that battle system, and it's similar but different in Blade 2. So I don't know. I
liked how you could have all the different blades. And that was a cool element. And you would have your primary blades. Yeah.
I like Pokemon, so it's like when you would open up rare core crystals and get different ones, because all those were done by different artists, correct? So it's like,
I like that a lot about it.
And I like that different people from different like video game companies were like, okay, we'll contribute and we'll make these different. And like someone that likes collecting like myself, I thought that was a lot of fun. But it's like when we're talking about like if you get to a part of the world and you need to have a certain skill set, that did get a little frustrating for me when I had to hopefully get the right blade that could do the skill set that needed to be utilized.
It's one of those seemingly boneheaded design decisions that didn't make anyone happy and just pissed a whole lot of people off.
Like I feel like they assume at this point that people who are playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 have never played an RPG before. Like I feel like Final Fantasy 13 made this kind of mistake about not unlocking content in the battle system for a long time.
Like easing into it.
Yeah, and I get it for the first 5-6 hours. Yeah, ease us into it, but I kind of like games where they just drop you into it and they're like, good luck. Yeah.
I mean, this is so complicated that they really can't do that with this system.
That's true. It does.
You need to build if you try to learn all that in one sitting, or you will just stop playing.
It's interesting because the brief amount of time that I played it, I felt the battle system was sort of basic and boring and kind of automated. But then at the same time, I would find myself diving through menus and not knowing what the hell any of it was for, or how to leverage it. So I think that the battle system, like you said, as it goes on, it has a lot of depth. But for whatever reason, and I'm no stranger to RPGs, for whatever reason, the depth was lost on me, at least early on.
I feel like there's a lot of item upkeep too, with equipping your blades, learning new abilities for your characters and your blades, with that weapon, with this one, There's a lot of upkeep with it, and I feel like that, there's, RPGs have, I feel like have really found this comfort zone with not going too deep, but just getting that right spot of, customization. And
Did you all know that they had, each character had favorite food and stuff like that?
I learned that once I got to one of those gates where you got to feed the food.
I don't remember what the point of it was, but
it did unlock those abilities.
There's just so many things that, like, as you keep going through the game, it's like, you're like, well, why do I have so many of these things? And then you're like, oh, well, because that utilizes this part. Yeah. But, like, I didn't realize that I needed to be doing that.
Did you look at a guide when you were playing the game for the first time? Because I did. Specifically about how to unlock those abilities.
No, I did. No, because I definitely got to one where I was like, what is this ability? Why don't I have any blades that have this skill?
Yeah.
And then I had to look it up because I was just like...
Which blades have it? Where can I find it? Yeah.
Because I think it was the first time I encountered this skill ever, and it was a good amount into the game. And that's when I had to keep opening new core crystals. And that was the other thing that I wish I didn't have to keep deleting blades from my inventory to just open up more core crystals to pray that I got the right one that I wanted.
And you have to sit through that animation a bunch. Like, I wish you could just skip that.
I don't think
maybe they have updated that. Yeah. Because they have updated the games a bunch since we played it. So.
And there's new DLC out, and I haven't played that yet, but I have heard that it's really good, and it kind of makes me want to go back and try it out, but I have a lot of games that I want to play.
There's a lot,
So,
Xenogears.
Because that was...
you need to tell Harrison fans he needs to play Xenogears.
It was about 98 hours that I put into the game. So, I mean, I didn't, like, blow through it. I definitely did side quest things. I spent time on it, so... I don't know. I feel like I got the full experience of the game, and overall, I did enjoy it for sure. So
the one other thing about the combat I did want to mention it has one of my other unfortunate least favorite thing about RPG combat are a lot of the enemies were spongy. You'd have to like sit there and whack at them. I feel like they could have cut that time in half just to keep it going, the momentum. And you just kind of sit there and hack and slash for a long time, and I think they could have cut back on that.
Were they spongy because they were damage sponges?
Well,
or were they spongy because we didn't understand the battle system?
I got deep enough to I got that battle system down. I got to a point where I was like, this game's like, I've got this now.
Yeah.
And at that point, you would still, it's just, you knew exactly what to do. You weren't going to die. Like, you didn't have to worry about anything. You would just like kind of sit there like waiting for the battle to be over. But
it reminded me a lot of like Final Fantasy XII's battle system, but in a more sort of obfuscated, less intuitive way.
That's what a lot of people said about the original, is that it was an evolution of Final Fantasy XII's battle system.
So was the original Chronicles game a lot like the battle system for 2?
I would say it's 80% the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, but for the most part, and X, like you can see how they're all kind of similar. X was an evolution, and then 2, I think, took the best of the both. Like I feel like that. Like combat for me was like probably my favorite in the second one, but the narrative in the first Xenoblade Chronicles like really grabbed me and really made me want to finish, and did a bit better with open world. So one other positive I think we can all agree on was the music. Yeah, the music was fantastic. And which is a shame because you get like a legendary soundtrack and you want it to be attached to like a legendary game, and I feel like that happens a lot with like Mitsuda, who did soundtrack, is very popular amongst us. And
God, I feel like they're half the soundtrack I haven't listened to yet. Finish the game.
Yeah, so like
but I like what I heard.
Yeah, so like from an aesthetic perspective, like I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did hit the mark. But that's not.
Can I say just one thing on sound design overall? I was gonna say sound design was great, but. And maybe you should feel this because you played a lot more of it than I did, but all those random like character voices like in battle.
That was the other thing. I was going to say, I turned that off.
I know you can turn it off.
You can turn it off. Yeah. That's a hard.
But you also miss when you turn that off. You miss some dialogue in the game that's fun. And I realized it because I played through it for a good amount with those and like the noises, because I don't even say it's like talking because it got so repetitive and so annoying. But whatever. I was just happy that was an option. But then I knew that when I did certain things in the game, I was missing out on some just basic dialogue. It's not pivotal to anything.
Did you turn it back on?
No, I did not turn it back on because I could not handle. I couldn't.
That's a gotcha question.
I couldn't. Yeah, no. Yeah, I couldn't. That was like, because I got so far into the game and I was like, okay, I can't take this anymore. Because I was in this one like battleship and all the enemies were saying the exact same thing over and over and over, and I was like, okay, please let this be an option. And when I found it, I was like, okay, cool. At least you gave me that option. Because I watch people play it online and like yeah, if you do this, and I listen to, like I watched a video of them playing and they have all those voices going on. It's like, wow, you've gotten this far and you still haven't turned that off.
Some people are just masochists.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall music and sound design asterisk, very good. Very good.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered all the bases. Like I did like some of the character dynamics. I really liked the characters until like I feel like the cast got too big for its britches and the spotlight went on to like other more minor characters, and I was like, yeah, I really like the dynamic between the main group, but again, I didn't finish the game, so I feel a little tacky coming on the channel and saying that I haven't finished it, but I know enough to judge it, so take my review with a grain of salt. Like I think that you all need to let us know what we're missing about the game. I know Harrison liked it. But like it's mixed. Like we've had heated discussions over it. I convinced Nick to buy Xenoblade 2 just like I convinced him to get X. And oops.
And I haven't finished it. He hasn't finished it.
Yeah.
Thomas has a habit of recommending games that he bails out of halfway through.
I don't know, like I gravitated back to I recently replayed Final Fantasy VI. I'm playing Suikoden 2 for the first time now. And like, man, those games just like they grab like I just love like it's just I love it. Like I'm just like I'm immersed. Let's keep going. And so and but granted different time and everything, but I like there's all like what I was talking about at the beginning of the video about how there were only 40 to 50 people making this game when I think the other two games had over 100. Like you can kind of see why maybe the pieces didn't come together well enough for me in my opinion. And this is just all my subjective perspective. Like, and I love the Xeno series, and I want it to be great. And I want Takahashi to see. I wonder what he's doing next, because allegedly the rumor is it's something new. So I'm curious with that. But do y'all have any final words? Conclusion?
I'm excited to see what Takahashi does too. I'm a Xeno fan from way back when, and like I said, I really wanted to enjoy this game, and I haven't written it off completely. At some point, I'm gonna go back, start it over. I didn't make it too far into it, but I'm gonna start it over, when I have time, and really give it another shot. But yeah, just on first pass, it didn't really come together for me, and I don't feel qualified to really judge it or really fully review it in light of that. But typically if I start a game and I make it to a certain way through, I usually finish it. So it's really rare for me not to, and I think that sort of, says something about the game. But overall, I didn't dislike it enough to trash it. It just didn't really engage me the way I thought it would.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. It's just like, you all haven't been like, this is just a garbage game. And I think, for the most part, I think there's things that you dislike about it, but overall, I think, there's I hate saying there's definitely worse games out there, but like, I enjoyed it, and I especially after...
Would you say it's your third favorite game on the Switch after Mario and Zelda? Overall?
Not counting like the indie or downloadable games.
Yeah. Like
I
would
say
the Nintendo releases.
Okay, I'll say that. Because it's. I put that. If I didn't like
rank it after those two.
I wouldn't have played it as long as I did if I didn't like it. But I would say. That's like I think about that first year of the Switch and like Mario, Zelda, and I put Xenoblade up there because I think, and hopefully maybe we get Rex and Smash Brothers. I don't know.
I could very well see that happen.
I think that's almost a certain.
Here's the question, Harrison. If there were 100 Zohar seeds scattered throughout the world of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, did you like the game enough to go back and find all of them?
No.
Yeah,
that's
the answer
but
to it all.
That's also like
don't be harsh.
No, I'm just saying like I typically only like am super competitive with like, or I want to complete like Zelda games. And like I did complete Mario, but that was like an amazing. That was fun, and I had fun doing it, except for that one level.
You're you're completionist about games that you really get into.
Yeah. If I really get
into them, you're gonna do almost everything.
So is it fair? And I'm just kind of leading here, but is it fair to say that what got you through Xenoblade was the story overall? Is that
pretty much? Yeah, because it's like, again, especially coming from Chronicles X, and then going into this one, I thought this one had so much more story. I liked the story personally. I can see how certain parts weren't for everybody, but I laughed. I didn't cry. I don't cry. I'm a man. Just joking. No.
Yeah.
Men cry. But no, it's like I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with the game. I thought that the story was like, there were parts where it was like, okay, let's keep going. But like overall, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was entertaining. Yeah.
I came away kind of thinking it was a bit of a diamond in the rough. Like, I felt like there was a good game there that I just wasn't quite ready to find.
Maybe
if I get a little bit further, if I know a little bit more about the balance system, the plot takes some interesting turns. I'm gonna go back to it eventually.
Maybe it needed just another year in the oven, trim the fat. Fix a lot of these things that allegedly have been fixed. Apparently, there was an update that redressed a lot of these complaints.
I'm interested to hear more about what that patch.
Yeah. I know that they've toned down a lot of they fixed the map system allegedly, which is almost enough to make me like, man.
I think by the time I was nearing the end of it, they had put out another a patch, and I was just like, oh wow, this is a really great little thing that they added, and because I forget how many patches they've actually done to it that are changing things, but it's like I remember that patch being like, oh, this is making things a little bit easier for maybe. I didn't have trouble with it, but I could see how this addition to it would help people that maybe weren't understanding how to get from A to B.
Yeah.
Well, if I had to give it a score. It's tough because, for me, Xenogears is an absolute 10 out of 10 game. One of my favorites of all time. But, man, if I gotta say it, I'm gonna give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It carried me for 40 hours. I was into it that long, so it's owed that. And, I really how it kicked off. I liked a lot of dynamics about it, but... it's just after coming off the heels of a great year of JRPGs, it was I don't know, it lost me. But yeah, it's a shame. But I will never give up on Takahashi. I know that because Breath of the Wild was such a smash hit, I'm hoping that Nintendo's like, here's some money, so he can make something really cool with his next project.
I feel very similarly. Yeah. I'm gonna have to give it a little bit of a lower score than you did, but honestly, I caveat, asterisk, I didn't finish it. I don't feel good about rating a game I haven't finished, but 6.5.
Well, I would give it probably an 8.5 to a 9. I'm in that kind of. I don't think it's I think it's a good B+ in my opinion.
And you can follow Harrison on Instagram at Fogelfond.
Thanks.
Because he loves it.
Yeah. I enjoyed the game, and I don't know if I would play it again right now, but maybe later on I would. I'm interested in the DLC, so I think I'll probably check that out within the next year. Because I know there's lots of things that I want to play in the next year, so it's I don't want to say I'm going to play it right now.
Sure. So in the Famitsu score world, this would be a 22 out of 30, which you can do better on this song. Bring it next time, because we didn't hate it. We're not stomping on it. Harrison liked it. I thought it was average plus, and it's just you're getting all perspectives here, and we haven't given up on you. You're nothing even close to being like Konami. But yeah. But I'm interested because I also feel like that this game came off the heels of a struggling era for Nintendo. During the Wii U, they developed it for about 3 years, and then the Switch came out, and now Nintendo's raking it in, and they're all of a sudden way back in the spotlight. And I feel like that a lot of this is owed to their work on these games. So Nintendo needs to give Monolith Soft some due credit for their success. But yeah, well, that's our Xenoblade Chronicles 2 review. And stay tuned for
comment,
more.
subscribe, hit that bell. There's a bell.
Yeah, if you want to get notifications.
So,
and we'll have Harrison will do his like in-depth review one day, and you're gonna
one day.
Got a lot of reviews coming, a lot of top 10 lists.
Yeah,
so stay tuned for that.
There we go. Peace.